The Senate chamber was buzzing that morning, though no one could have predicted the storm about to break. The cameras rolled, the reporters scribbled frantically, and every set of eyes turned toward Senator Mark Warner as he leaned forward into the microphone. His tone was sharp, his words sharper. Elon Musk's obsession with Dogecoin, Warner declared, is nothing but a reckless scam, one that undermines the seriousness of our financial institutions. And as long as he continues to manipulate markets with his tweets, he is nothing more than a threat to American stability, gasps echoed in the room. The accusation wasn't just against Elon Musk, it was against millions of ordinary Americans who had put their faith, their savings, even their hope for a better future into cryptocurrencies. For many, Dogecoin wasn't just a joke coin up, it was a chance to escape crushing debt, to dream of financial freedom, to grasp at an opportunity that the traditional system had denied them. Warner's attack cut deep. Elon, who was sitting quietly behind his lawyers, lifted his head. His eyes burned with both restraint and fire. He wasn't a politician, he wasn't here to trade barbs, but the sting of Warner's words could not be ignored. Yet before Elon could even rise to speak, a slow southern drawl filled the room. "Now, Senator Warner," said John Kennedy of Louisiana, his voice calm but laced with steel, "I reckon I've heard a heap of foolish things in this chamber, but what you just said takes the cake." The room froze. Kennedy leaned forward, his gaze locked on Warner like a seasoned boxer sizing up his opponent. He wasn't known for pulling punches, and today would be no different. "You're sitting up here," Kennedy continued, "pretending like folks back home don't know what's good for themselves, like they can't decide whether to buy a little Doge, a little Bitcoin, or a little cattle, for that matter. You're calling Elon Musk reckless. Maybe take a look at what your agencies have been doing with taxpayer money. USAID, for only us spending billions overseas, while our own people are hurting at home." The mention of USAID sent murmurs racing through the chamber. Kennedy wasn't done. He leaned back in his chair, his voice rising with conviction. "I've seen the reports. I've read the audits. Billions vanish into thin air programs with no accountability, no results, just paper trails and excuses. And now you all want to come after a man who's building rockets, cars, satellites, and yes, even joking coins that folks actually believe in. Give me a break." Warner tried to interject, but Kennedy cut him off with a raised hand. His voice thundered now, echoing through the chamber. "You wanna talk about threats to American stability? It ain't Dogecoin. It's the fact that we got others who can't feed their kids, veterans sleeping on the streets, small towns dying out, and meanwhile USAID is sending billions overseas to bureaucrats who can't even tell us where the money goes. That's the scandal, Senator Warner. Not Elon Musk, not Dogecoin. USAID." The chamber erupted in applause, something rare in that solemn hall. Even Elon, usually reserved, couldn't hide a small, grateful smile tugging at his lips. Kennedy had turned the tables with the precision of a master. But what followed was even more shocking. Within days, Kennedy's fiery words spread like wildfire across the country. Clips of his speech racked up millions of views online. Ordinary Americans felt seen, felt heard. For the first time in years, farmers in the Midwest, single moms in the South, factory workers in the Rust Belt all nodded along. They weren't invested in USAID, but some of them were invested in Doge. Some had felt the sting of being mocked by elites for chasing a dream. Kennedy's defense wasn't just for Elon, it was for them. As the movement grew, pressure mounted in Washington. Investigations into USAID spending were launched. Revelations poured out of funds mismanaged, projects abandoned, billions wasted. The once untouchable agency stood exposed before the American people. And Elon, he didn't gloat. Instead, he doubled down on his promise that innovation should serve humanity. He pledged new initiatives to make Dogecoin more secure, to expand internet access through Starlink to underserved communities, and to keep building toward a future where opportunities weren't reserved for the privileged few. For Warner, the backlash was swift. He had underestimated not just Musk, but the power of a simple idea that freedom, financial or otherwise, belongs to the people. And for Kennedy, his words became immortalized. Commentators called it the day he obliterated U.S. aid, but for him, it was just another day fighting for folks who too often go unheard. The final lesson was clear: sometimes, the loudest voices in power forget who they serve. But every once in a while, someone like Kennedy reminds Amy with grit, humor, and drama that the people still matter. And in that reminder, hope was reborn.